Hi students, this is Suchadatta, SST teacher, and now I shall teach you the first chapter of Civics class 7th, and the name of the chapter is on equality. Well, you have already learnt in class 6th textbook that India is a democratic country, and the basis of all democracies is equality. Unless the people do not feel that they are equal, then we cannot boast of being a democratic nation. Well, the key elements of a democratic country are people's participation, that is, they should be a part of the government, and resolution of conflict, that is, whenever the people differ on an issue, then there should be a resolution, there should be some decision which satisfies all the people. And equality. This is very important. That is, the people should feel that they are equal, not only in terms of just having the right to cast the vote, but also feel equal in all other aspects. And justice. That is to say, the rich should not be able to take advantage of the poor people. So, these are about the various key elements of the democratic government. But in this chapter, we shall be talking more on the equality of the people. So, the first topic that they have picked up is equal right to vote. In India, you see, everybody has one vote and the vote carries equal weightage. They have given you an example of Kanta, who is a maid servant, and she feels that she is equal when she is standing in a queue to cast her vote, because her sahib, that is the person at whose house she works, is also standing in the same queue along with his neighbor to cast the vote. This gives her that feeling that yes, she is equivalent to her master, because they all have to stand in the same queue and cast the vote. And her vote carries the same weightage, and even the sahib has one vote and she also has just one vote. This is a good satisfaction, and as a matter, it does bring about equality between various sections of the people. But then there is other side of the coin. It so happens that Kanta's child is unwell. She lives in slums in pathetic condition, whereas her master resides in a good bungalow. She cannot take a day off to look after her baby because the master would feel offended, and she has to go to the government hospital and stand in a queue. Now, here standing in a queue makes all the difference, because all the people standing in the government hospital queue are all poor people, and they are standing and waiting for the doctor who does not seem much concerned. Whereas, when the sahib's child is unwell, he goes to a private doctor, pays him the fees and gets the best medication for his child. The school to which her children go are also not very good. So, these are the various inequalities which are prevalent in the society between the rich and the poorer section of the society. So, where is all that equality that we are talking about? Now, let us try and understand about various other equalities that we are striving for. See, if you are living in a village, in a rural area, you know about your caste as such from the very beginning, from your childhood. You have an experience of it. You know that what caste you belong to and how are you going to behave and what are the things. But it seems as if the picture is different in the urban areas, as if the people do not believe in the caste system. But that's not the case. if you pick up a very prestigious newspaper, you will see various matrimonial columns who would clearly say the Jat, the Sikh, the Punjabi and so on, which means that the caste system is deeply prevalent even in the urban areas. We are not free, we are not devoid of these castes in the urban areas. Now we are going to pick up two examples, one from the rural India and one from the urban India, which is going to tell us that the caste system is there in both the places. First of all, about rural India. We will talk about the example of Om Prakash Valmiki, who was a Dalit. Dalit, the word Dalit means broken. And he has written in his autobiography named Juthan, in which he says that he was discriminated, not liked and insulted at school. He was told to sit outside his classroom and could not sit with other boys inside. And the teacher used to punish him at the drop of the hat. And he was told continuously by the teacher to go and sweep the playground of the school. And he says that my body stature was so small and the playground was very, very large. And I found it very difficult to sweep the playground. The headmaster kept sitting in his office and looked at it. He was relieved of this sweeping job only when his father was passing by from the school, who entered and saw his son sweeping. He came and shouted at the teacher and the headmaster, and he said, "Fine, I am taking away my child from here, but there are going to be many more Dalits, many more Om Prakash who are going to study in this school. You cannot keep discriminating. You cannot keep behaving in this manner for years to come to other students." That was an example of a rural India. But let's talk of an example of urban India. There is a story of Mrs. and Mr. Ansari, who were well off and who had come new in the city and were looking for a rented apartment. As money was not a problem, they went to the property dealer, who assured him that he knew of number of places and took them to those places one by one. When they entered the first apartment, they really liked the place and they wanted to rent it. They wanted to take it on rent. But the landlady, when she inquired about the name, she suddenly changed. She said that she was not willing to rent out to a person who was a non-vegetarian because all other in the apartment were vegetarian. Whereas the Ansaris claimed that they could smell the fish being cooked in the house. That was just an excuse that the landlady gave. And similar thing kept happening from one apartment to another, wherein the people started giving lame excuses as they didn't want to rent it out to Mr. and Mrs. Ansari. The property dealer had one idea, and he said that it would be nice if they would change their name to Mr. and Mrs. Kumar, which the Ansaris did not agree to, as they felt that their dignity would be tarnished if they do so. Well, after lots of hard work, ultimately they found a person, a landlady, who was willing to rent them out an apartment, and they got a place to live. The inequality in India exists basically because of the four factors, and those are the caste that you belong to, whether you are from the higher caste or the lower caste, and so would you feel the pinch. And to which religion do you belong to? From which background do you come, rich or poor? And which gender do you belong to, whether you are a male or a female? So these are the four factors on which all the inequalities in India exist. And the dignity when it is violated is absolutely wrong. You have seen the example of Om Prakash Valmiki and also of Ansaris where their dignity was violated. As far as Om Prakash is concerned, he was a small child who could not have fought against the violation of dignity, and it was only after the intervention of his father that he could actually feel dignified. But Mrs. and Mr. Ansari were adults who refused to violate or get their dignity violated by accepting the proposal of the property dealer who suggested them that they should call themselves as Mrs. and Mr. Kumar. So, whether it is the Ansaris or it is Valmiki, all need to be respected and all need to be kept at the same pedestal as others. But the Constitution of India is doing a lot to bring about total equality in the country. The Constitution clearly states that all persons in India are equal, and it also has made laws to protect against any kind of discrimination that a person feels. There are various provisions of the Constitution which say that first of all, the discrimination shall not occur, that is on any basis. Everybody is equal in the eyes of law and everybody shall be treated equally. And no discrimination, as I said, should be tolerated by the people. And all the public places are open for everybody irrespective of the caste, religion, background or gender. Besides, the Constitution has abolished untouchability in India, which is a clear sign that the inequality which is existed in India for hundreds of years now has been wiped off by one stroke, that is by abolishing untouchability in India. The Constitution has made the provisions for bringing about equality in the country. But there is a role which the government also has to play in order to bring about equality in the country. So, the government has to see that the laws are effectively implemented, and it has to start with certain programs and schemes which can ensure total equality in the country. Let's talk about one such scheme or program called as the Midday Meal Scheme. This Midday Meal Scheme was a scheme initiated by Tamil Nadu in 2001 when the state felt that if the meals are provided to the students, this will benefit them in many ways. And when the effects were visible, the Supreme Court of India gave the direction to various other states in the country to implement the same scheme in their respective states within 6 months. The scheme has come out with wonderful results, and some of the positive aspects are: now there is more enrollment of the students in the schools. And we also see that there is a regular attendance, that is, children come to school every day. And we see that since the children are eating together, so there is an equality. To whichever caste they belong to, they sit down together and eat. The equality also comes about in another aspect, that is, they have employed Dalit women for cooking the midday meal scheme, whereas earlier they were considered to be untouchables. It has also reduced the hunger of the poor students. So, it seems like an excellent program where the children have started enrolling themselves, where the attendance has become better, where the children are eating and feeling as equal. The Dalit women have been employed and now nobody considers them untouchable. And of course, when the hunger is reduced of the poor children, it is in itself a very successful program. But still, after the implementation of the midday meal schemes, the equality which we are seeking is still far off. There are many schools where the children are still ill-treated as Om Prakash Valmiki, and there are many places where the Ansaris have to look for an apartment and they get it only after lots of hard work. So, to bring about that real equality, we need to still work very hard in India. Now, the next question that comes to everyone's mind is, why, if we have made laws, that still there is inequality in India? Why are the people still discriminated on the basis of caste, religion, gender and so on? It is because the attitude of the people is such, and it will take a long time before they understand that nobody is inferior or superior. It's not merely the laws, but the change in the attitude which is going to make the complete change, the complete transformation as far as this aspect is concerned. So, we have to make efforts to see that we bring about equality in the country. Now, you must be wondering, is India the only country in the world where so many discriminations occur? Are other countries of the world totally free of discriminations and inequalities? No, my dear, it's not so. I'll give you an example of the most developed country of the world. Let's talk about US, that's America. This is the story of Rosa Parks, who was an African American woman, and in those days, if they were traveling by bus and a white wanted to sit on the seat, they would have to get up. So, while she was traveling from a hard day work on 1st December 1955, she refused to give her bus seat to a white who was wanting it. This was followed by a wide agitation. People protested, came out in open, and they required equality, they said. They said that all these discriminations of giving seat to the white and other such privileges would not be accepted by them. This took the shape of a movement which was called as the Civil Rights Movement. Ultimately, the government of US had to bend down, and the Civil Rights Act was passed in the year 1964, which clearly stated that no discrimination shall occur in US on the basis of caste, color or creed. And it also said that all schools shall be open to all the children, whether black or white. That is, schools are there for all. But by merely registering, by giving the laws, it does not ensure equality. That's what I've been emphasizing on. So, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 has said that, of course, anybody can get admission in any school, but what about the economic factor? The African Americans are amongst the poorest in America. So, they cannot afford to send their children to the private schools. And the American children go to the best private schools, and thus the facilities there are far ahead to those of the private schools. So, where is that equality that we are talking of? By giving merely that anybody can get admission is not the right attitude, is not the right equality. The right equality would be when you provide the means to a person to send their children to the private schools at par with others. That's what we are striving for, not only in India but everywhere in the world. Let there be no discrimination of rich and poor, of caste, of male and female. Let everybody respect each other, love each other, make others feel dignified and make others feel that they are wanted. That would be a true society, a human society, an equal society, and that's what we are looking forward to. Thank you. That's the end of your chapter.